Well, there's some major trends that are affecting all businesses. First of all, globalization, which is changing really the nature of organizations. They're much larger, much more widespread, many cultures within one organization, and they're more challenging to manage as a result of that. Secondly, the social media revolution with lots, not just different ways in communicating, but different ways of making connections between people, and in turn they lead to new kinds of stakeholders that are emerging that have significant influence on existing stakeholders that we care a lot about, our employees, our shareholders, our customers. And so these trends are making it much more difficult, and we're challenging, I guess, for enterprises to build and protect brand and reputation. Well, there are lots of things that we do that are from models. For example, when we generate awareness, that comes from a model. It's the marketing funnel. When we do influence the influencer, that comes from Edward Bernays, who is one of the pioneers of public relations. So models are important. And those models are still relevant, but they don't explain everything that's happening today. And so with this new environment that we just spoke about, these new challenges to enterprises to build and protect brand and reputation in this radically transparent, hyper-connected world, it's important that new ways of doing things emerge. And in fact, we've begun to see that companies are changing the way that they do corporate communication, and so the new model is kind of emerging on its own. There's really two things. The first is corporate character, and that really is the distinguishing set of characteristics that make the enterprise truly what it is. The way I think about it is it's who you are, and if you're worthy of trust. Well, how do you become worthy of trust? Strong values, strong culture, which means that everybody in the organization lives by those values, a mission or a purpose that is not only to build value for shareholders and customers, but also to build value for society. Those things, the values, culture, mission, purpose, all align truly and authentically with your business model, your strategy, your operations, and everything you do. That's corporate character, and that's piece one of the model. The second piece, once you have that, once you build an organization that has a strong character that's differentiating and unique and truly yours, how do you then build trust with other stakeholders? And that's the second part of the model. It's called authentic advocacy, and it starts with shared belief. That's why the model's called building belief. And it's all about how do you find common ground with other stakeholders. Even when it seems that there may be conflict, you can always find some place where they have something in common with you, where your values and beliefs and your mission are aligned with those of other stakeholders in a way that you can build a shared belief around that. Once you have that, then the stakeholder takes an action. It might be buy the stock, or buy the product, or support the policy objectives, or even come to work for the company or become a partner in some way. That's an action. Once the action's taken, over time, when the action's repeated, you can build confidence, which ultimately leads the stakeholder to become an advocate, to feel part of the enterprise's community, and that becomes advocacy. And we call it advocacy at scale because we're now able to build those kinds of relationships, not just with groups of people, but really down to the individual level. And each individual becomes an advocate for the enterprise with other stakeholders and influences others. And then the circle starts again. Well, it really is up to us, I think, those of us in corporate communications. Are we up to the challenge? Can we help enterprises build and defend brand and reputation in the face of these challenges? Can we implement the new model in a way that truly does change the character of our organizations? Can we build those kinds of deep, meaningful, and lasting relationships with multiple stakeholders where they become advocates? If we can do that, the role of the CCO, the Chief Communication Officer, becomes more and more central to the success of the enterprise. But what will it take to do that? CCOs are going to have to bring in, to acquire new skills that we never had before. We need to be data analytics. We need to be good at behavioral science. We need to be good at working across the enterprise, building systems and processes, things that really were never expected of CCOs in the past. But if we can do these things, and if we can step up, we're very well placed to play that critical role in helping the enterprise succeed. There are many companies that are, in fact, the model was derived arrived by looking at companies and what they're doing, and we'd really pieced it together by observing. So now that we've pieced it together and we've all agreed that this makes sense, many of our members, Page Society companies, are beginning to implement the model in really interesting ways. And as they learn and develop new ways of thinking, I'm sure the model will continue to evolve. But if you want an example or two, General Electric is a good example, IBM, Allianz in Germany, Lundbeck, which is a Danish pharmaceutical company, USAA, an American insurance company. These are all examples of companies, Xerox, that have taken the new model and used it to create a really strong character and then to start building those deep, meaningful, and lasting relationships with stakeholders.